Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Bruce Kruger. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the quiet guy, often seen as the town crier. And I've been asked on behalf of the Chamber to act as your moderator tonight. I want to go over a few things. By the way, this, I think, is probably one of the greatest evenings that you could have because it's all about democracy. This is the way that our country continues to thrive. We're going to start in just a minute, and we will be going till 7:55. At that time, or during that time, we will have the majority personnel with their debate. And then at 7:55, we're going to take a 10-minute break until 5 after 8, at which time we will then have the district councillors come up. So, if you would please remember, first and foremost, to be respectful while we're in here. As I say, this is about how our country operates, and we do it in a peace-loving way. The rules for a delightful night. If you happen to have a cell phone on you, if you'd go outside and throw it in the river, or just simply shut it off. If it rings, I get to answer it. We asked the candidates if they would be very cognizant to stay within their time limit. Marnie over here is our timekeeper. She will be standing up at the end of when they have only 15 seconds left of whatever they wish to say, whether it be for their opening or closing remarks or whether it is for their answers to questions. She will stand up at the 15-second mark. When she sits down, that ends the comments from the candidate. We want you to be aware that your TV is taping this tonight, but it will be shown at a later time. And the order of candidates tonight was drawn previously, just a few minutes ahead outside. And for the mayor competition, it is Graydon Smith is number 1 and Lori Lynn Gioski is number 2. I will get to give the questions afterwards, and as I say, when I read the question, they will then have 1 minute to respond to it, and then they will have 30 seconds to issue any rebuttal that they wish. They are going to start now with a 5-minute opening for their remarks, and it is drawn first by candidate Graydon Smith.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Bruce, for moderating the event. I know I got to chat with a couple of you before we got started tonight, but for those of you that don't know me, my name is Graydon Smith. I'm the current mayor of Bracebridge. I'm joined this evening by my lovely wife, Melissa, back in the back somewhere, and I'm also dad to Gabby, who's 8 years old, and Max, who's 5. And they are having a decidedly fun night with Nana tonight. I'm here to share a bit of the past, present, and future with you and ask you to allow me to continue as your mayor for another term. But before I get to the nuts and bolts of it, let me say thank you. Thank you 1,000 times over to the people that make Bracebridge a dynamic and successful community. It is because of you that I love the job that I do, leading a town that at its heart is full of people and volunteers wanting to do their part to make us better each and every day. And like you, I've done my best to make Bracebridge its best. Over the last 8 years, we are a community that has once again found its way after a recession a decade ago that left our economy shaken and the future a bit uncertain. Today, we see that unemployment numbers are down and more people are working again. Commercial vacancies are a fraction of what they once were as new businesses open their doors. People are attracted to our area, and the overall feeling is that we are pointed in the right direction. We are growing, we are succeeding, and we are making decisions now that will lead us to an even brighter future. In 2014, I stood here and told you that we needed to go back to the public and update our community-based strategic plan, assessing where we were at and where we wanted to go. And we did that over the course of the term. And your input was invaluable and provides a roadmap for every politician to follow. And sometimes this job can be that easy. Just do what the people ask you to do. But unfortunately, we all know that getting from A to B can be an adventure, and we've had our share of those. And rather than list a bunch of accomplishments tonight, just a quick story. Over the past 4 years, voices were clear that they wanted to protect one of the most valuable resources they have and we have, and that's our hospital. And before I was reelected in 2014, it was clear that our hospital was going to be at the center of a conversation with possible dire consequences. And since the 2015 decision selecting a one-site model, I have been there for our citizens and visitors, protecting one of our most valuable institutions every step of the way. It was simply not acceptable that we might lose or see radical change to what is a cornerstone of both our communities in Bracebridge and in Huntsville. So I began the drive to change that decision, not knowing that it would take 4 years, hundreds of hours, endless conversations, a lot of persuading, and the badgering of 4 ministers of health, 3 hospital board chairs, 2 LHIN chairs, and the only thing missing from that list is a partridge in a pear tree. It was tough, and it was hard, but I didn't give up, because I don't give up. I made alliances with other municipalities, pushed groups like the Association of Municipalities of Ontario to help, worked endlessly with Mayor Aitchison of Huntsville, and asked our CAO to spend way too many of his Sundays compiling information to make a compelling case. And in the end, most of the evidence they needed came from what I had told them in 2015 when I appeared before the LHIN. They had to look outside the 4 walls of the hospital and examine the issue from a broader perspective, a planning perspective, an economic perspective, a community perspective. When that was done, the answer became clear. And I'm proud to say that the board, the towns, and the people agree that our 2 full-service acute care hospital sites is what we need now and in the future. And thanks to all that made that board re-examination and re-decision happen. It is that kind of passion I bring to the job every day. And although I believe things are going well, they can be better. They must be better. Our hospital, despite the fact that we now have a model that suggests 2 sites, needs the necessary funds to provide its many services. It takes strong advocacy to make that happen, working with other municipalities. I have been doing that. I will continue to do that. We need more affordable housing to make sure people have a roof over their heads at a reasonable cost. The solutions will come from all levels of government, developers, and realtors working together, changing policy and making things happen. We must make sure that what brought us all here in the first place, our incredible environment, is protected, respected, and sustained. We can't have high-density growth on the waterfront in Muskoka. The last thing Muskoka needs are more urbanized areas, especially there. Put it where growth belongs, in towns, on services that are already here and ready for it. Bracebridge is that town. And let's encourage the generational shift in business and community leaders that is taking place now to continue to foster. It's the basis of our recent success and the bedrock of a solid future. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the questions tonight. And as always, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I was remiss in giving the full name of Lori Lynn, and it's Lori Lynn Gioski Pacini. And Lori Lynn, you're on.
Good evening, and thank you for attending this evening. I am thrilled to be running for the office of mayor, and if elected, I look forward to serving you and our community of Bracebridge. Like any community, we have problems. Therefore, I will work diligently at trying to resolve them. We must put policies in place that will protect our world-famous character and charm, and be creative in finding solutions that fit our community in relation to new development and reconstruction projects. Additionally, a new arena and library are at the forefront of needing solutions. Depending on funding models, we will be planning on moving forward either all together or in a phased-in approach. Bracebridge is experiencing a significant shortage of attainable and sustainable housing. This affects all of us, especially those entering the housing market, downsizing, or acquiring rental accommodations. Prosperity is important to any town, but prosperity without protections and safeguards is false prosperity. All decisions must factor in the future ramifications of our decisions. Therefore, we must develop appropriate short and long-term plans and policies. As your mayor, I will focus on protecting Bracebridge from the unsightly growth that we see in towns and cities to the south. Due to the changing economic environment, it is vital that we become more competitive by retaining and attracting new businesses so that we create more employment and ensure a proper living wage. We can do this by conducting appropriate research, identifying potential businesses that fit with our vision, and then aggressively promoting Bracebridge to those targeted businesses. Let us be the economic leader of the region. We need to position ourselves as a town, actually the town, that rallies and supports business development, diversification, and recreation. At the same time, we need to focus on being leaders and ensuring that our environment is always protected. If we do not start implementing appropriate policies today, it will be too late. Policies that reduce and better manage plastics, protect water from such things as toxic blue-green algae blooms, and protect our trees. London, Ontario has championed this cause and is the envy of the province. Why not us? Problems may be somewhat complex, but this should not deter us. It certainly won't me. It is a challenge I am eager to take on. We need to work with the province, experts, residents, and staff to find solutions that fit with our vision for the future of our town. Budgets and higher taxes are also an issue for Bracebridge. We struggle to afford our present infrastructure. It is time that we start budgeting responsibly for unknown costs and expenses to avoid high taxes, and we need to find cost savings and increased efficiencies to assist with future budgets. Our hospital is at the forefront of conversation in our community. I will prioritize the work involved in achieving the health services Bracebridge requires to effectively and efficiently serve all of us in the future. Additionally, I will work diligently towards fixing the funding model for mid-sized hospitals such as ours. As Deputy Chair at the District and District Councillor at the Town of Bracebridge, I am very aware of the challenges that we all face. I have always been, and if elected, will continue to be here to assist you with any and all of your concerns and issues. I will be your voice and at your service. I guarantee I will never waver from, and I never will. I am known as a person who speaks her mind, is decisive, and who stands on her own when needed. I've never been afraid to ask the difficult questions and tackle the difficult problems. As your mayor, I will be ready to go, eager to do whatever it takes to ensure the future of Bracebridge is prosperous. A true pleasure to call home, and indeed the envy of Muskoka and beyond. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Lori Lynn. Now is the fun time. We get to ask the questions. First question, can you share your thoughts on how to keep our future generations in Bracebridge? Some hurdles identified are a lack of career jobs, nightlife, and skyrocketing costs of housing.
So I'm up first, and first I'd like to say that it's been a pleasure to work with Councillor Josh Puccini over the last 12 years, and wish her well this evening. It is a challenge to keep young people in the community. I think what you most often see is that a lot of people go away for a while and then they want to come back at some point and have an opportunity to do whatever it is they've been trained to do or want to do. And we do see a lot of that happening, people coming back, especially with that entrepreneurial spirit. But youth out migration is a problem. I think housing's the prime driver in that. If we can provide housing opportunities for people that are reasonable, that helps to impact the labor force too, and provide more economic opportunities. But certainly, you know, broad economic development is part of that. We've seen some growth in companies coming to Bracebridge, such as the marijuana facility, the breweries expanding. They are creating good paying middle class jobs, and we need more of that, and we'll continue to work to find that as we you know, continue with our economic development path.
Thank you very much. Lori Lynn?
Thank you very much. So first and foremost, one of the reasons that keeps the young people away is the lack of jobs. We need to be getting out there to get these companies to come to Bracebridge. We need to go and find them and quit waiting here for them to come and find us. So that's first and foremost. They need the jobs in order to come here. Housing is another issue certainly that we're all very aware of. We do have a few projects going on at the moment. We have a new one that's coming down the pipe soon that will assist with this. There is programs at the district. I think we need better communication about those programs to assist these people to get into homes. And we just need to keep moving forward and working with the upper governments on programs and plans to make it happen. Also, recreation is another key. We need to be providing recreation that these young people enjoy for themselves and also for their children of the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any rebuttals?
Yeah, Bruce, thank you. And I'd just like to say, I know I only have 30 seconds, that, don't think we aren't doing a lot of that now. And I think it's a misnomer to say that we're not actively trying on the economic development front. It's competitive. There's 444 municipalities in Ontario. Everybody wants the same thing. So we're out there working every day through our department, through the programs we have, award-winning programs that are bringing people to the community. And it's a slow problem to fix, but, we're trying our best to get there.
Lori Lynn?
And I don't think I ever said we're not doing it now, but I think one of the things we're not doing now is we're not going out, we're not seeking these companies out, we are waiting for them to come to us. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. We need to be rolling out the red carpet. We need to be finding them and telling them why they need to come here to Bracebridge. Jobs are the key, and we need to go out and get the companies to come here to create the jobs.
Thank you. Question number 2, and we're going to start with Lori Lynn this time. Beside hospital funding, what are your top 3 priorities for Bracebridge over the next 4 years?
So hospital funding is definitely one of them. Bracebridge needs to have an advocate at the table for the people. Without an advocate at the table, the people don't have anybody to fight for them. So that is really important. The arena is another, and library complex is another area that we need to be focusing on, and getting that 68-year-old arena moved to a new location, and get us also a new library in our town. The other thing that we need to be dealing with, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, is the new cannabis laws. That's something that we're going to have to hit as soon as we come into power in December, because time is short to be making major decisions on this, and we want to make sure we make the right decisions for the people of Bracebridge.
Thanks. So I think it was 3 things other than the hospital. So I'm going to take the hospital as a given, and certainly reiterate the need for housing in the community. We've seen this spike in the last 18 to 24 months in particular, where supply is not keeping pace with demand, especially in the rental market. So we need to, through some policy changes, make it easier for developers to get rid of some of those upfront costs that can be barriers. It's very expensive to develop in Muskoka, and so I think there's things we can do that don't impact the municipality in any meaningful way, but will be meaningful for developers. And again, working with them and realtors and upper levels of government, I think we can find that path. Certainly, we talked about the arena and the library complex. We are getting to a point where we don't want to have to put good money into a bad facility, so we want to get that looked after. And the other thing is, I think, managing our planning for the future to ensure that all growth is managed growth, and that we are working towards a community that retains that Bracebridge character, but continues to grow. Yep.
Rebuttal, Lori Lynn? No rebuttal? Mayor, anything further?
I'm not going to rebut myself, but thank you.
Excellent. We're going to start with Graydon, number 3. Currently, we are under a 2-tier government system, district and municipality. Would you be willing to fight for the amalgamation of these systems? Why or why not? Is there a model that you feel would be better?
I think it depends on the system that you're talking about, or the service that you're talking about at the district level. And so, when we look at community services, water and sewer, and a number of the functions like OPP and emergency services with paramedics, they are services that are delivered broadly across Muskoka, and a single tier of government is the best option to deliver those. When we get into planning and public works, specifically in road networks, it gets a little cloudier. I know there's been a lot of talk about downloading roads to the municipalities and that might be some sort of panacea. I don't believe it is. I think it's like the world's worst baseball trade where you get a really, really expensive player, but you don't get any money with it. So, we need to look at things and evaluate them on an issue by issue basis. I certainly think there's room for improvement at the district level and that relationship between district and towns. And I certainly think that the government is prompting us to take a very long and hard look at some changes in the very near future.
Thank you. Laurie Lynn?
Only if pushed do I strongly believe that we should be getting rid of the district level of government and allowing the townships and towns to rule their own areas. I don't think we should be becoming one region. Research that has been done shows no positive outcomes to amalgamation, no tax or cost savings. The Fraser Institute published a report on municipal amalgamation in Ontario, which showed it did not result in cost savings or lower taxes when it is a one region government. So therefore, I really don't believe that we should be looking at that type of government. If pushed, I think that we would need to secede and be a town on our own. Unless you want Bracebridge to have streets that mirror High Falls Road all over your town with a decimation of trees and high density development, I would suggest that we never go to a one-tier upper government. Thank you.
Graydon?
Yeah, maybe just to add a little bit more, and thank you, Bruce. I again think that there are things that need to be delivered pan-Muskoka, and things that don't. But one level of government for all the towns and townships would be poorly received. I think one level of or 6 levels of government also wouldn't work very well and create an incredible amount of duplication and cost overruns. So we have to work with what we've got and try and make it the best we can.
And I would echo that, and that's why I was very clear in saying only if pushed. I do believe that the two governments can work together. We have worked together in the past. We are finding cost savings in working together. We are trying to fix duplication in the two governments. So I do think that the current government is the best government.
Thank you. We're going to move on to question number 4, and Laurie's going to commence with the answer. Please describe in detail your approach to the housing problem, affordable and upwards, in our community, especially when many say, "Not in my backyard." Would you support a municipal land transfer tax if the option was granted?
I don't know that I would support a land transfer tax. I have talked to a number of residents, and I'm not hearing support for another tax. I think that we need to find other ways to gain revenue at Town Hall. We do need to start in developments. When we get new developments, we do need to start making sure that parts of those developments there is affordable housing within those new developments. We need this for the young people. We need this for the people that are wanting to downsize. So we need to be cognizant of what we are lacking, and that's what we're lacking. So when new developments come into town, we need to make sure that parts of those developments are fulfilling the need within our housing market, and that is affordable housing. Thank you.
Thanks again. I've talked a little bit about housing already, so I don't want to repeat myself. The market is particularly stressed because of some of the changes that the federal government has made around mortgage lending and stress tests. And the affordable housing marker for purchases now, I think, is in the high 200s or low $300,000, which seems like an incredible amount of money. So I think we really need to be looking at some very different policy initiatives like land lease communities. And again, I will reiterate, working with the development community to make sure that we're reducing costs where we can without impacting the municipality, but those that have a big impact on the developer to make it a little more friendly to do business here, and make sure that the development community wants to be here and sees the opportunity to help. As for a land transfer tax, I don't think there's enough transactions to really make it worthwhile, specifically within the municipality, and it certainly would be poorly received by the realty community, who's already commented on that.
Lori Lynn, anything further?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll move on to question number 5. How do you propose to prepare the citizens of Bracebridge of the multifaceted effects of climate change?
I think that's a big question for a small town, but we can do the best that we can with what we've got. I think we've got a really dedicated group of people in this community, and specifically the Watershed Council, that are great advisors on issues of environmental concern in Muskoka, and they provided a lot of great information. We all individually have to do our part, and I think as a municipality we always want to be encouraging that. There are, small individual gestures that add up to large scale impacts. If everybody composts a little bit more, if everybody actually recycles the right way, we can get rid of a lot more waste than we are now. So, that is a bit of a hydra, that question. There's a lot of heads to it, and others keep popping up. But I think, we need to work with other levels of government as well to try and be supportive of their programs, but ultimately it comes down to a lot of individual decisions.
Quite right. We do have, I'll call it a department, if you will, at District that does look after our watershed. Very important department. There's also small community groups out around Muskoka that do their own water testing and things like that. And very important to have these analyses done. Also the flooding, we need to be working with the appropriate agencies, because the flooding is also causing problems with our climate change. Of course, we seem to get this 100-year flood every so many years now. It's no longer a 100-year flood, and it is causing problems to our climate. And agreeably, garbage is another issue, and we definitely need to have better recycling and better communication with the people for recycling programs and stop it from going to our dumps.
Graydon, rebuttal? Okay. We're going to move on to question number 6. Should you become mayor, what is your long-term plan for the seniors in our community, including assistance for the Seniors Active Living Centre?
I do believe that we have not paid enough attention to the seniors' need, and I would like to change that in the next term of council. In July, a motion was passed to work with the Senior Centre Board in assisting the issues they are experiencing in their community centre. I advocated at council to include this action into the proposed 2019 municipal budget and business plan, which I was successful. We need to be finding ways of assisting the health of our seniors, being able to participate in activities with others, as this adds to their social needs and their well-being. Putting this endeavor into the plan further signifies that council believes that the centre is a need and not a want. We need to realize that the seniors are a huge economic driver to our community, and therefore we need to be looking after them and realize that this is part of our diverse population, and it is a need here in our community.
Well, thanks again for the question. I think that we've started this conversation with the Active Living Center back in July. I was pleased to meet with the president and the chair of the board of directors, and it was me that brought the motion forward to get council to take a look at it here in 2018 and actively be working on it. And I think there's actually another meeting tomorrow, I was told. So there is progress going forward with talks with them, but I don't think it's our place to overrun them and do something that they don't want to do either. So we just need to be an active partner with them in active living and make sure that they're getting what we need and our seniors are getting what we need. We have a wide variety of programming through the Sportsplex and other ways to keep seniors active, and we of course want to enhance and increase that when necessary, and we need to make our community more accessible, and I know the accessibility committee does a great job in looking out for that. So there's a number of things we can do. I don't think I can say them all in 60 seconds, and Marty's getting a workout again, standing up every time I talk.
Lori Lynn, anything further? Okay.
Can I start my own rebuttal?
Go ahead. Why not?
Well, I mean, the other thing to say is when we build a new center and build a new library, I think there's opportunities to help seniors as well. So, the library immediately becomes a more accessible, more friendly place, and an opportunity for programming that I think can be more senior friendly. I think if we are so lucky as to get the funding to build a field house component too, we want to make sure that kind of recreation space is accessible for everybody. And I look to the Ability Center in Whitby is a great example of how they've coordinated both young, old, and those that are able and disabled into one center where they can do a lot of great things together.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I would like to just speak to that as well. I have been speaking to some seniors over the last little while, and one of the big issues is we do have a beautiful rec center, and the seniors would like to use the rec center, but I'm being told that the seniors are not allowed to use it because of the high school. So that's another big issue that we need to look at. If we have these centers, we need to have them available to the seniors in the daytime, not at night, when they're not wanting to go out and drive around to these type of recreation activities.
Thank you. We're going to change the subject slightly. As a former police officer that has post-traumatic stress disorder, it's something that's very near and dear to my heart and being discussed right across the province of Ontario today. What plans do we have within Bracebridge to look after not only our first responders, but others that may suffer from a mental illness within the community, that are working for the community? Oh, I'm sorry, you are Graydon?
So, our direct responsibility in terms of first responders typically lie with fire and with ambulance, and the OPP is on a non-contract basis, so they're kind of hived off, I guess, in their own world. But we want to make sure that everybody's taken care of, and if we need to advocate for them, we would certainly advocate for them. I know when we took the paramedic service on at the district, part of the discussion was around WSIB and post-traumatic stress disorder and managing that. I think we want to be respectful of the fact that these are high-impact jobs with situations that occur that can be life-changing and life-altering, and there's absolutely no question that as employers we need to provide the support to specifically, again, fire and paramedics who are a direct responsibility, and frankly anyone else on a job that may be suffering from PTSD or its effects.
Thank you. Lori Lynn?
Thank you. This is all to do with mental health. Mental health here is absolutely acute, and it's acute in many age groups, starting right from young children and working its way up. The district needs to be working and does to some extent today, but needs to continue and work more with agencies. We need to be finding help for these people. A lot of these people are not able to find the assistance that they need in our community, and that's just not right. First of all, some of them don't have transportation, and they don't have money to take them out of the region to get the help that they need. And frankly, the help that's out there, even out of the region, is too expensive. So mental health is a #1 issue that frankly I don't think is talked about enough and needs to be talked about more, and we need to be finding solutions for all of these people. Thank you.
Maybe not a rebuttal, but supplemental, just because I ran out of time before. When it comes to young people and mental health, or anyone frankly with mental health challenges, that was certainly recognized through the MAST process, the Muskoka Area Health System Transformation conversation, which was active in Muskoka for a couple of years, and I think might get some legs with the province. Again, I'm hopeful, recognizing that just the mental health services in Muskoka simply aren't good enough, but if we can create a system in Muskoka that can stream people into the right place at the right time with the right help, that outcomes can certainly be better. And I am concerned about the regionalization of services, just too many people, as Lori Lynn said, frankly, having to leave the community to find the help that they need.
Thank you. Our next question, why has the population remained stagnant at approximately 16,000 residents over the last 5 to 7 years? What do you propose to encourage growth in population, businesses, and services?
Well, I think I'm first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I believe that the reason it has remained stagnant is because we've lost a lot of very good businesses, and when we lost those businesses, the people could not find jobs, so the people had to leave. So that decreased our population. And then it turned around when people were wanting to come back, and a lot of those people are seniors because they don't need jobs. They want to retire in a place like Muskoka, especially down in the southern region where they're selling their homes for a high dollar, and they're being able to come up here and live in paradise and buy a cheaper home and bank the rest of their money. So I think that that is the real reason why we have been stagnant. Again, we need to get businesses, we need to create jobs, and this will bring the younger people back with their families. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks. Again, I want to dispel the notion that we're not growing, because I don't think that's a fair assessment. We grew at a 4% rate over the last 4 years or 5 years between the 2011 and 16 census, which was the same as Huntsville and more than Gravenhurst, and some of the townships are decreasing. And there are towns in Ontario that are contracting. So we are still growing, and we are on the positive side and the lucky side. And we are growing jobs. There is no question that the unemployment rate 5 years ago was 10% in this area, and now it's about 5.8% in the last statistics I saw. So it is getting better. Things don't get better at the wave of a wand. It is incremental, and we have to work hard to get businesses here. And I think that is working. We've got policies that are attractive to business. We've made Bracebridge a very business-friendly community. But the ultimate solution for growth is jobs and opportunity and housing to go along with it. And I think that's become a common theme tonight that's certainly dedicated to working towards. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay. Our next question. If the new build of the arena library building goes forward, what do you think is the most beneficial use of the two empty buildings? How would you propose the municipality support the efforts to fill them, if any?
Well, thank you. I certainly see that the Carnegie Building is a key component of downtown, and for those that ever feared that it would be gone, lay your fears to rest. As a heritage building, it's not going anywhere in this community. I think we need to examine opportunities, both private and public, or a combination of the two. It's a big building, not too big, and it's got some quirks to it. But whether it's a gallery or an archives or some offices or a combination of all of that, hopefully it's something that the public can still access and see the beauty of what's inside as well. So that's not going anywhere. As for the arena building, frankly, the building is done. It is past its usable lifespan. The ability to keep using it is certainly there, but not without some investment in the near future. We've been buying property around that for the prospect of redevelopment, but it could also be used for a variety of other things. And I think that's something we want to consult with the community on and see exactly what they want to do with it when that time comes.
Lori Lynn?
So when we speak about the library, I think that there is some options with the library. We have a BIA that currently rents space. Perhaps they could move in there. Perhaps there is some services up at the town hall that we could bring back into the downtown core. I do hear from people quite often that we have moved everything out of the downtown, and it would be nice to really think about some services that we could move from the town hall down into the downtown and perhaps move them into that building. With regards to the arena, I agree. We do need to decide what we're going to do with the arena, with the properties that we own surrounding it. But one of the things that I do not believe is I do not believe that the town of Bracebridge should be continuing to own buildings and be renting them out for commercial purposes. That's not what towns are supposed to, municipal governments are supposed to be doing, and we just shouldn't be doing it.
Graydon?
I think the other thing with the arena building to consider too, and I'm not say I know what the future holds, but certainly now that we've decided the siting, or the model piece with the hospital rather, it's a question of siting and how that gets looked after, and having a fairly significant piece of property in close proximity to the hospital could potentially be useful if something gets done on that site. Maybe not, but that's another option for that property in the future.
Lori Lynn, anything further?
Well, except that the hospital may not be at that site for very much longer. But one of the things is, and we hear this a lot, is we're lacking parking in the downtown. So, is that a good place to create more parking? And these are questions that really we need to ask at the table, and we need to review and research them and make some decisions on either making them into something that's good for the town or getting rid of them.
Excellent, thanks very much. Now those are the questions that we have time for, and so as long as we can keep moving on time, right now I would ask Lori Lynn if you would please give your 5-minute closing remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 12 years, I have worked diligently on your behalf as a strong voice at the Bracebridge and District tables. I take my responsibility very seriously. It is time for change. Bracebridge needs a mayor who is available to the people as and when needed. I have helped hundreds, possibly thousands of residents battle injustices when no other civic leader would do so. I am the only district councillor who has tirelessly fought for all residents in Muskoka. As mayor, I will continue to assist residents in any way that I can in order to address their concerns while at the same time respecting the value of your dollar. As mayor, I will continue to be there for the people in the future. Bracebridge needs a mayor who will foster better communication with the residents of the town, including residents in areas affected by reconstruction and/or new development. I have always been openly available to any and all residents, and I am committed to finding better ways to inform and communicate with residents. Bracebridge needs a mayor who has a track record of working with and supporting various associations like the Friends of Muskoka and Muskoka Lakes Association, fighting against things like high-density development on our waterfronts. Additionally, I was in favor of realizing seasonal residents deserve the desire to be included as a whole individual and not one half, which is used in deciding representation around the table. They own property and pay taxes here just like any one of us, and therefore they deserve the same respect. Bracebridge needs a mayor who will speak up to right a wrong. Again, I have a track record of doing so and will continue to do so as your mayor. Bracebridge needs a mayor with business experience and acumen. My penchant for business is well known. As mayor, I will use this business experience to encourage new businesses to locate to Bracebridge. As mayor, I will use my business experience to cut waste and inefficiencies at Town Hall. As mayor, I will use my business experience to make informed and financially responsible decisions on behalf of residents and businesses alike. Bracebridge needs a mayor who is a team player and who promotes open and transparent discussion at council. Decisions by Town Hall should be made by the mayor and all elected councillors. The councillors must be fully apprised of what is happening and must be included in all engagements that occur. Staff is there to advise, but council is the governing body with the responsibility to make the final decisions. As mayor, I will ensure there is full and frank disclosure of all relevant information and full discussion before any decisions are made. Bracebridge needs a new mayor who is passionate about our town and who will take the appropriate steps to protect it by allowing only well thought out and responsible developments, including road reconstructions. Such developments and projects must fit with the character and charm of our town. I was born and raised in this town. I want it to be prosperous, but I also want it to retain as much as is possible the character, beauty, and charm that I grew up with and that we all treasure. It is a new day, and it is time for a new mayor. I have proven communication and leadership skills. I have the skills to promote our town and region. I have the ability to lead and guide council. I have the business acumen to make financially responsible decisions. I have the determination to achieve prosperity without sacrificing the environment or character, beauty, and charm of our town. Most importantly, I have the stamina, integrity, and personal resolve to truly be a mayor for the people. I encourage you to visit my website at Lorilyn, LORILYNN, for mayor.ca. When deciding who would best represent you as mayor of Bracebridge, elect me, Lorilyn Joski Pacini, the candidate with the experience, the dedication, and commitment. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Lori Lynn. Graydon?
Well, thank you very much, and again, appreciate the questions tonight and the opportunity to speak to you. I will say I think it's a little rich to position oneself as the only person that stood up for Muskokans around the table. There are 22 district councillors that are all working hard for their constituents, and there are district councillors representing wards in Bracebridge, including myself, that work hard for constituents every day. So I reject the notion that only one person is doing the job around the table for this community. In fact, I have been doing the job to the best of my ability for the last 8 years, and I think I have brought energy, zeal, and frankly, a new approach to doing the job in the community. When it comes to communication, I don't think anybody has embraced new styles of communication as much as I've done, nor do I think anybody has been as willing to go out to places and meet, whether it's their house, the coffee shop, the grocery store, the sidewalk, or on Facebook. Doing Q&As, doing town halls, answering questions for 3 hours at a time with bad typing skills at that, but still willing to do it. So, I really think I have done my very best to get the message out there to the residents in Bracebridge and beyond. And I think that's been recognized, and I'm happy that it's been recognized by other leaders in Ontario that have asked me to fill some certain roles representing small urban communities, and I've been proud to do that. And, it's been suggested, I think, in the paper a couple of times that that takes away from my roles here. It certainly does not. It makes me a better mayor in this community because I know that I need to learn from others. I need to learn from other great community leaders throughout Ontario and bring that home and use those approaches here. So, I'm proud of my work for municipalities in Ontario, and I'm proud of my work in Bracebridge. I'm also proud that I have led a council for the last 2 terms that does its business without drama and rank war and moves on. We debate, we have great conversation, we don't bring personalities into it, and we roll on to the next piece of business. And that means we get business done in Bracebridge. And that doesn't happen with every council, but it's happened with ours. And I think it's because I try and give everybody a wide berth to say what they need to say, but without getting too far off topic. We have made a difference of the lives of people in Bracebridge by a number of programs, and one of them is launching a simple yet effective transit system that's carrying more people than we expected and helping the young and old in our community. It's not perfect, but we needed to start somewhere. One day a lady stopped me on the street. She said, "Are you the mayor?" I said, "Yep." She said, "I just want to tell you that I've been taking the taxi to see my grandson across town several times a week, and I don't have a lot of money, and it's been a lot of money to do that, but now that I can take the bus, I don't have to spend my money to get to my grandson. I can spend that money on my grandson." That's why we do things in this town. That's why we build social infrastructure in this town as much as we build core infrastructure. But we do need core infrastructure, and we built a new fire hall in conjunction with the District of Muskoka paramedic outfit, creating a joint facility that not only looks amazing, a lot of you were probably there at the opening a couple of weeks ago, functions well, save the taxpayer money by combining services together and bringing a project in on time and on budget that will serve us for decades to come. We've been frugal with your money because we've been putting money away for capital, not piling it into operations. Unlike higher levels of government, we don't run deficits at the municipal level. We don't have an operating deficit in Bracebridge. We borrow some money from time to time to build capital infrastructure that will be around long after that loan is paid for. And even our external debt right now is relatively low, with the fire hall coming online and purchasing the Timber Mart lands, which was something that the community definitely wanted to do. Our economic development initiatives have been talked about tonight. As I mentioned, they're winning awards. Our community improvement plan, which is designed to help commercial building owners downtown, oversubscribed for 3 years running because we've got new people coming in, new business owners with fresh ideas, and they want access to capital and they want help from their community, and we're providing it for them, and that's why we're winning awards for those programs. I see a downtown that mixes waterfront and retail together, using the lumberyard lands that we purchased, attracting visitors to a place that's fun and exciting year-round, leveraging the trail network that comes to a head in that space, and using it as a launch pad for people to come to our community, whether they live here or are visiting here, for adventure. We need to complete our new arena complex quickly. I've been advocating with the province for funding for that project. Frankly, it is time they stepped up. They have not provided reliable or consistent funding for recreation and culture projects for several years. We've been good soldiers. We've waited. We need our share. And lastly, we must always be listening to you. As much as we have that guiding document in the strategic plan that I mentioned, it's just a guide. Things change, ideas change, opportunities come and go. We need to be nimble and respond when needed. I have a vision for this community. I hope you'll support that vision. Thank you. Good night.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now going to start with part 2. And we have the district councillors up here. The councillors drew their order of speaking to begin with, and first is Rick Hellam, number 2 is Rick Maloney, number 3 Stephen Clement, and number 4 is Don Smith. So without further ado, we're going to ask if each one of them in that order would please give their 3-minute opening remarks. Rick?
Thank you, Bruce and Chamber, for organizing this. I've been encouraged to run for municipal office in prior elections, but the timing was never right. Now seems to be a good time to do that. My background in the building and construction industry will form a basis for any efforts and decisions and direction on council that I take. The vibrant growth of the tech sector in the Toronto-Waterloo corridor will provide Muskoka with many opportunities to entice tech people to live and work in Muskoka, provided we build out our fiber optic infrastructure and provide appropriate amenities. The province has made it clear that they wish to reduce the number of elected officials. I think we should create a proposal representing our needs and views, because it would be better to be proactive with a scenario based on our views than to have one forced upon us like Toronto. Another challenge has been our hospitals, and now that the Lynn and the province have agreed to the 2-hospital solution, more work is required to finalize it. Muskoka must convince the province to change the funding formula so that our hospitals are properly funded. Economic development strategies need to be developed that will attract families to work and live in Muskoka. An excellent start has been a marketing campaign by the Muskoka Builders Association to invite families to live and work in Muskoka and work in the building trades. The builders are offering well-paying, year-round jobs, and the initial response to this has been very encouraging. This is a great effort, but we need to do something similar for other occupations, as there's a real shortage of help, such as sales clerks, wait staff, school bus drivers, PSWs, among others. We also need to work on affordable housing. Townhomes, rental apartments, and semi-detached homes. Muskoka needs to improve the cultural, recreational, and other leisure activities for both residents and newcomers. These are things that attract families to live here. Perhaps we can make better use of the facilities we have, including improvements to the library, the new arena. A healthy Muskoka environment must be maintained because that is one of the big advantages that we have. Current problems must be addressed and solved, not passed to the next generation. We need to solve the problems like green algae blooms in our lakes, reduce the use of road salt, among others. We need to recognize that our climate is changing and plan to accommodate those changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's been my pleasure to serve the residents of Bracebridge and Macaulay Ward for the past 8 years, and I hope to continue that service as your district councillor. I believe now, more than ever, Bracebridge needs experience and a strong voice at the district table, and I'm prepared to be that voice. I run on a record of working hard to help make Bracebridge a better place to live. I've spearheaded many initiatives in the past 8 years: public transit, broadband expansion, trail connectivity, active transportation, and yes, even a gas station for the north end of town. Additionally, I'm appointed as the alternate district councillor, having the opportunity to attend district meetings on many occasions. I come prepared and ready to work on day one. As your district councillor, I am committed to addressing the lack of quality and affordable rental housing and ensuring that home ownership is available and attainable. We are losing young adults who want to live and work in our community, but find that quality and affordable accommodation is next to impossible to acquire. I'm also committed to eliminating overlap and redundancy between both levels of municipal government, all to ensure we keep residential taxes in check. I believe that high-speed internet broadband is an essential service, and I'll work to expand and access that underserved areas across Muskoka. I believe in responsible growth, always with a mind to preserving our small town character and protecting our natural environment. We don't need centralized residential growth on lands that were never designed or could never support such urbanization. Our natural environment is our economy. It's why we chose to live here and why we call Muskoka our home. I will work to ensure that our hospital receives the financial support it needs and is funded fairly. Our access to health care services should be no different than those who live in larger urban centers. Finally, I am committed to ensuring that we, the residents of Bracebridge, do not lose the autonomy to set our own community priorities. I could not support any governance model that further limits or seeks to remove the ability of those of us who live in Bracebridge to direct and protect our own uniquely Bracebridge community, vision, values, and needs. Bigger government doesn't necessarily create efficiencies, nor does it save money. It does distance itself from who it is designed to serve and forces a political culture of one size fits all, where in reality, it rarely does. It's important now, more than ever, to have a strong voice of experience that is attentive and responsive to the needs of the residents of Bracebridge. I am seeking your support so I can continue to provide that same strong representation that Bracebridge has received from me over the past 8 years as your town councillor and your deputy mayor. Thank you, and I would appreciate your support on election day.
Stephen, come in.
Thank you, Bruce. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As some of you may know, I've lived in Bracebridge all my life and retired after 35 years as a paramedic and emergency services dispatcher, all that time working in Bracebridge for Muskoka Ambulance Service. Just prior to retirement, I ran for the position of Bracebridge District Council and was elected. I did not have an end date in mind and was determined to keep representing my constituents for as long as I was able to continue doing the position justice. I have witnessed and been a part of many issues in the past that have formed our town and its services it provides today. As chairperson of community services for the District of Muskoka, I'm well aware of the needs of our community and support the following issues. Everyone is conscious of the need for more housing. At the municipal level and at the district level, I have supported programs and incentives to assist people in attaining safe, affordable, and appropriate housing to encourage developers to choose our area to provide affordable or appropriate housing. I contributed to expanding our plans for childcare, preschool, and after-hour and before school. I assisted in initiating programs geared for seniors rather than them coming into our main urban centers, which is costly and inconvenient for them. We are now going to the rural hubs to deliver these interactive services. I have recognized the need for transportation to support, and I support the Bracebridge Transit system, including the mobility service. As chairman of the Bracebridge Accessibility Committee, I'm aware of the needs to move forward with upgrading our standards. We not need wait for the last minute to implement these changes. I've always been a supporter of those that volunteer in our community. No community can survive without volunteers. Volunteers carry the load. We at Bracebridge and the district have recognized these people for their time and dedication. One thing I've always supported was to allow public input into programs, and it was never more apparent in the past few years. People getting a feeling of civic pride when they're allowed to comment on what is happening in the residential area and town. This is not about me running for council. This is about people that can make reasonable, transparent, and fiscal responsibility decisions. We must attempt to keep taxes at a reasonable rate, yet maintain the services that people have asked for and become accustomed to. This can be accomplished by appropriate planning now and in the future. I feel I have these qualifications and a proven record to represent people by dealing with them on a one-to-one basis. Thank you for coming this evening and hearing what we have to say.
Don Smith.
That's on the chair. Thanks, Bruce. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. For those who may not know me, Muskoka has been my home for over 50 years. Finishing high school in Bracebridge, I started my career in publishing here in 1971. Since then, you have welcomed me into your lives, sharing ideas for articles and providing me with unique perspectives on life in Bracebridge and Muskoka. During that time, with your support, my wife Susan and I have started several businesses, including our new magazine in 2016 and our recently opened downtown store. We are committed to doing business in Bracebridge. During that time, Susan and I raised our 3 children. We were part of the community, and the community was good to us. For these reasons and more, I truly appreciated the opportunity you gave me in the last election to be one of your elected representatives. A key of my 2014 campaign was based on a commitment to communicate. For me, listening isn't a 4-year ritual that ends on election day. Some of the greatest successes of the past term have been based on listening to you. When I listened to your input and I said I would I would work towards getting rid of parking meters, you applauded. The meters are gone. When the community rallied around the concept of a skating trail, I was pleased to work with organizers to move this project ahead. The Memorial Park Winter Village is now a downtown mainstay. When the future of Woodchester Villa seemed uncertain, I worked with others to get public input, and through the efforts of the Woodchester Villa Working Group, we now have a way forward. As we know, redevelopment of the Sanders Village Road has been a concern to residents and those interested in active transportation. When I uncovered the proposal would have far greater impact than expected, I consulted with ratepayers and staff, and then, working with my fellow councilors, took action by introducing the motion that resulted in the rethink that is currently underway. Considerable public input identified Muskoka Airport as one of our greatest opportunities to grow our economy and create jobs. During this past term, the groundwork has been undertaken. The future of the airport is now in the hands of the Muskoka Airport Board. We have resurfaced the runway, and this past Monday night, we approved the creation of a new management. When it comes to governance, I have listened to your concerns about costly duplication at the district and town. Rest assured, I remain committed to fighting for a long-requested review of local government. I look forward to the rest of the discussion tonight and the exchange of ideas that are certain to make Bracebridge and Muskoka a better place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. Now the fun part. We're going to go right into the questions. There's no light.
Start crying.
Is it on now? Okay, light's back on. We're going to have a question period, 1 minute for each to respond, and then if they choose, there will be 30-second rebuttals. So, first question. I think we're running out of a battery here.
You yell, I'll get it out.
The first question. Do you support passenger rail service to Muskoka, and would you advocate for service during your term of office? We're going to start with Rick.
Thanks, Bruce. Yes, I do support the return of rail passenger service. I think it would be important. It would be an important use of facilities and also be useful for our residents to get to Toronto or to go north. It was a disappointment when it was canceled, and certainly I would support reimposing it.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for the question, and absolutely would support the reinstitution of rail service in our community. It was a shame that we lost it, and obviously there's been a lot of work by a lot of people to try to get that rail service back. It's going to take some work, but I certainly would be an advocate, strong advocate, to make sure that that happens. I think it's also important to recognize, too, that we have to look at many different ways of getting people to our community. We have the new flights that are coming out of the Muskoka Airport, which is great, and there's been some great uptake. But also we have to look at how we move people within Muskoka. The Met Bus that was a pilot project in the district, in my mind, is a bit of a failure in that it relied on school buses and it wasn't accessible transit. But we really look, if we're going to have a mobile community, we need to look at many different ways of getting people around the district and to Muskoka.
Thank you. I would certainly support passenger rail service. I can remember as a child living on the other side of the tracks. We used to go down and watch the old trains come in, the old steam trains, and go down to the freight yard and watch all the freight come in, etc. That's something that our kids and the future kids won't get a chance to enjoy. I was part of organization of a bike group coming out of Toronto. It was an economic development adventure. And they biked all around Muskoka, stayed the full weekend, got on the train and went back. They designated a whole car, and we can certainly do more initiatives like that. Also, rail service provides a scenic and safe transportation. You're off the highways and you're in a safe car and you can enjoy your scenic ride. Thank you.
Steam train, Steve. That's a while ago.
I know. This is natural white hair.
You have hair. There is no doubt that rail service needs to be supported not only in but to Muskoka and beyond Muskoka. There's an appetite for that service, and being the fourth person, I get to unfortunately follow everyone else, but I was going to mention the bike trains, and the bike trains are something that speak to the fact that people want to get to Muskoka. They're looking for alternatives, they're looking for ways to travel here, and this mode of transportation is growing in interest, not only in North America, but I mean it's known throughout the world as being the way to get around. So absolutely I would advocate and support those who have made those efforts in the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to question number 2 and start with Rick Maloney for answering. How do you propose that we attract or retain businesses to our community, and do you believe this is the function of the district or the municipality?
I think it's a combination of both. I know that the town of Bracebridge, and I'm very familiar with the activities of the town of Bracebridge to advocate and recruit businesses to our community. We have the Bridge campaign, and we work with our partners like the Chamber of Commerce, like the BIA, and the business community to really reach out to the potential opportunities for business growth in our community. And I think that our business community is no better advocate than than anyone in terms of reaching out. They have the contacts, they have the ability to know where their suppliers are and what are some of the challenges. And I think that by working with our business community, that we will continue to attract business as we have so far. From a district perspective, I think the district plays a role in overseeing economic development on the larger scale, like the airport expansion. I think there's great opportunities with the airport that remain untapped. I'm looking forward to what that airport will be able to do from an economic development standpoint for Muskoka.
Thank you. To attract and retain business in Bracebridge and Muskoka in general, I think it's a combined effort in that, municipality outside of Bracebridge may have a business, like for instance, down at the prisons. A lot of people work in Bracebridge, and for every business they have, or every few residents have in Bracebridge, they have a convenience store. They have some other, all sorts of spin-off businesses. So business can, Bracebridge can attract business. We do their best, and we also do our best to retain them by giving, incentives or just working with them to make through our community improvement plan. And the other thing is, once we've attracted businesses to Bracebridge and we've attracted business to Huntsville, then we've created an area that people are going to want to come because it's successful. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, and it's a very good question. I think that there are many ways that we can grow the business community in Bracebridge, and there are some ways in which we can do it even in our personal day-to-day activities. I know from my personal involvement in a number of organizations over the years, things such as newspaper association boards and others, that I took it upon myself to be an ambassador for Bracebridge and Muskoka. And I encouraged a number of meetings to be held here at our facilities in Bracebridge and Muskoka, and help to work on building our tourist economy in that way. And I'd like to see, one of the things I'd like to see us work on is developing an ambassador program, because so many of us throughout the community are involved in activities such as that. And I think we can bring people to Bracebridge by being that ambassador and working towards getting the message out. Thank you.
I think we have to work very hard at developing economic strategies that will create opportunities for businesses to come to Muskoka and to Bracebridge more particularly. We have, I think, made some steps in that direction. Certainly the airport work is going to bring businesses in. The new business park that has been created at the south end of Muskoka, south end of Bracebridge, is a good step too, because we were short of developable land for new buildings, for new commercial enterprises. And
Thank you very much. I skipped the rebuttal on the first question, but I think Don Smith did a good job in regards to commenting about the steam engines with Steve Clement. Are there any further rebuttals in regards to this matter?
Well, I would just add that, as was mentioned by Don Smith, the ability to engage our business community, the ability to use their contacts, the ability for them to speak proudly about our community and the opportunities in our community are certainly going to be to our advantage. So I think that working closely with the business community, not just in Bracebridge, but more broadly across Muskoka, is going to benefit us in terms of economic development.
And just to add, this community I've known and heard from a lot of people from around the world, how polite the people are in Bracebridge, how inviting this community is, and I think that's not just done by council or just certain individuals, it's actually done by the community itself, and we all need to applaud each other. I'd
just like to further talk about the airport for a second. We have a huge asset there, and it is something that is a real plus, not just for Bracebridge and Gravenhurst, but all of Muskoka. And I think that the ability for the area municipalities, because they are the ones that carry the load when it comes to economic development, need to be working on cooperative plans to promote the airport and to look at development there. There are really good paying jobs in the airport sector. Thank you.
A few years ago, the Bracebridge Council set up an economic development assistance committee consisting of a number of local business people. And I think that would be a good thing to reinstate at this point to help council move forward.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to go on to question number 3 and start with Steve Clement. Why are you running to be district town councillor?
When I first started 12 years ago, it was suggested that I run for town council or for district council. For the main reason is rather than a ward, I knew about 500 people in the ward, and I knew 3,000 people in Bracebridge, and I had more connections with them, with the total Muskoka, not just the town of Bracebridge. I'd like to be involved at the town level to support Bracebridge initiatives at the district level, and have a say in how things go and how it affects Bracebridge either directly or indirectly.
Bracebridge and Muskoka have been particularly good to me and my family, and I really feel a responsibility to represent your voices at the council table as a way of saying thank you for your support of what has been good for my family. I have a keen interest in the community, and you've shared many of your stories with me, and it has given me an opportunity to represent your concerns at both the local and the district council table. So I appreciate the confidence that you show in me and the ability to be able to communicate and take your concerns forward. Thank you very much.
The reason I decided to run, actually a tongue-in-cheek reason, was that these other 3 fellows needed some competition. Otherwise, they were just going to get in without any effort at all. However, over the last 20 years, I've been actively involved in the community through the Builders Association, of which I've been a member for some 22 years. President for 2 years, and on their board for 7 or 8. I've been on the Muskoka Community Futures Board for 10 years and chair of it for 2 years, during which I've done my best to do or to help with the economic development, and I think that I can represent the people of Bracebridge well at the council table.
Well, originally I had started out to be quite content to do another term serving as the Macaulay Ward representative. And I felt that that was something that I wanted to continue to do. However, that changed with an opportunity with a potential vacancy at the district table. And I really wanted to take that opportunity to bring my experience and strong voice that I've had, not just in Macaulay Ward and helping out the folks in Macaulay, but also around our own town council table. That in itself is my personal reason, but I also have a real desire and a real interest to make sure that we continue to make sure that we have quality health care in our community, and that means that having that voice at the district table is going to be something that's going to be important. Also, the housing crisis across our district is something that I want to be a part of and help bring solutions to. And also, of course, the development issues revolving around our environment. We moved to Muskoka because we enjoy living in Muskoka. I want Muskoka to be the environment that we wanted to have: clean lakes, clean land, and trees.
Thank you. Do we have any rebuttals? Okay, we'll move on to number 4, starting with Don Smith. Besides the hospital funding, what are your top 3 priorities for Bracebridge over the next 4 years?
Top how many priorities, sorry?
Top 3 priorities for Bracebridge over the next 4 years.
I think that we have to top the list with the environment, and everything that we do, our economy is built around our environment, and so it has to be something that takes a number one position in our decision making. I'd like to also see us work on our ability to communicate with you. As I mentioned in my opening comments, I find that sometimes we rush things through council, and I see no reason why decisions can't be deferred. We need to make sure we have the best information so that we can give you the best services that you want. And finally, an ongoing priority of mine is the governance issue. And
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The 3 areas that I see most necessary to be focused on is, number 1 is the housing. We are critically short of appropriate housing for a lot of people. And with more people coming into the neighborhood, we're going to need that even more. The second one would be attracting appropriate people for the jobs that are unfilled at the moment. This is becoming a critical problem, as if you talk to any of the business owners, everybody's looking for staff. And the third thing, to reiterate what Don said, we need to focus on the environment to ensure that we keep it healthy and keep it for the next generation.
Well, thank you, Bruce. I did say housing and development and the environment in my previous response, and those are 2/3 priorities. But I also think that there's a significant challenge that is before us in terms of the capital needs of our community over the next 10 years. Bracebridge has about $89 million worth of capital needs that we have to fund, obviously. We can't let bridges, we can't let roads deteriorate. The district, across the district and all other municipalities, that's $500 million. So we have some challenges ahead of us, of course, and I think that is one of the focuses that I'm going to be focusing on, of course, is how we're going to tackle the deteriorating infrastructure that we have and how we're going to meet that with the minimal revenues we have without raising the taxes that you already pay.
Certainly, I don't disagree with any of my fellow candidates, but I really believe infrastructure is proving to be very expensive with with more downloading from upper tiers and no money coming with it. More rules and regulations, no money coming with it. Housing issues, we have to have incentives for people to build within our communities, and maybe some incentives through the district or whatever, through community services, and managed growth. Managed growth is a big issue. We don't want to, like Laura Lynn said, we don't want to be like some of our towns south of us. But we want to grow as we mature, and we want the services that we deserve. Thank you.
Any rebuttals? Done?
Maybe not so much a rebuttal, I'll just finish. The third thing I wanted to mention was governance, and I think that we really need to look at our governance structure. So I mentioned environment, communication, and governance because they're overarching. They aren't sort of hardcore, they aren't your infrastructure, they're not your roads, they're not all the specifics, but they're overarching things that need to be considered every time we make a decision, every time we go forward, every time we're working. And now I'm out of time again, so, okay, I talked too much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for rebuttals? Okay. Question number 5, and we're going to start with Rick Hellman. Currently, we are under a 2-tier government system, district and municipal. Would you be willing to fight for the amalgamation of these systems? Why or why not? Is there a model that you feel would be better?
That's kind of a rat's nest of a problem. I think that the province is going to, if we don't provide something, they're going to force something on us, and we may not like that. So I think that what both district and municipalities have to do is to develop a plan that would be helpful and directed to the province, that would, so that they would be, they would take that as the proposal rather than trying to force something on us.
Well, I'm fairly convinced that both levels of government have areas of expertise, things they do better as a upper tier government, and things that we do better as a lower tier government. When it comes to social services and water and sewer and some of those major infrastructure challenges, I think that having an overarching district government works well. I think when it comes to social services, the ability to get programming and dollars to people has been a very effective way to service those people that require those kind of needs. What I will say too is that at the local level, we're very good at making sure that we have road infrastructure, that we have recreation, that we have arenas. And I think that at the end of the day, we're going to find out that when it comes to cost savings, there's very little to be gained by having one mega government.
Once again, I certainly have to agree with some of the comments. And also the fact that there is a possible improvement as we go along in certain things, and at the district level we're making improvements every day in restructuring or whatever. Like Rick said, certain services are better handled at the district level, because then we'd be just having duplicate staff and duplicate services to honor a small community. I think we need the local input for your local community. You need ownership and pride in your own community, and not all communities are the same. Certain communities have different desires and priorities, and by keeping our services local and local council and local headquarters in Bracebridge, I think that's appropriate.
Okay, so now you're in my wheelhouse. I think we need to have a change. We are overgoverned, and if we were to come back with a district council that was half the size of the district council we have now, I would have no problem with that. We have too much government at both levels, and I believe very strongly that we need to have a study done that looks. I don't want that taken out of context, but we haven't had a really hard look at where we're at in governance in Muskoka for some time. And you know, it's been around 50 years. We didn't have cell phones 50 years ago. We were just starting to play with fax machines at that time. And you know, we really need, we've come so far in the way we do business, and we're not keeping up to speed at the model of governance that we have. Thank you.
Do we have rebuttals?
Yeah, well, thank you, Bruce. And it's not so much as a rebuttal, but just to add to Don's comment there. You know, the district's going through a council composition review. They have a committee that's working on that, and a report will come back. I don't know if it's coming back to this council or the next council. But at the end of the day, you know, I'd be the first person to stand up and say, you know, I'd like to get myself out of a job, a district job. I'm not running to, you know, have a district job. I'm running to, you know, serve the district and serve the people of Bracebridge to whatever capacity that means. And if it means having less district councillors,
Thank you very much. Don?
Just to you know, to continue on, I want to clarify that I think that there are some roles that need to be done at the district level. There's absolutely no question. Paramedic service, perfect example. So, but we need to do it in a way that is efficient and cost you, the ratepayer, the least amount of money. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay, without further ado, to provide lots of opportunity, it's now time for closing remarks, and we're going to do it in reverse order, starting with Don Smith.
Thank you to everyone involved with tonight's all candidates meeting, but in particular to you, the voters, who have come here to be a part of determining the direction your town and the district takes for the next 4 years. In my opening comments earlier this evening, I talked about what had happened in the past term and the impact your input has had on decisions. As we go forward in the coming term of council, major issues remain on the agenda. In each case, council will need to hear from the community. The decision by the hospital board to adopt a two-site model is but one of the steps in the ongoing capital planning process that will see the continuation of acute care in our community. But let me quickly note, it was the community support that was so integral to council's position on this issue. Your input made a difference. Plans for the proposed Arena Library Fieldhouse complex must be completed and funding from the upper levels of government must be secured. As I have campaigned door to door, many of you have told me you're ready and eager to take part in a fundraising effort as part of this community's contribution to the facility. That's encouraging news and a message town council needs to embrace. Affordable and attainable housing continues to be a significant issue. While much has been done, it is not enough. The lack of housing remains an impediment to the well-being of our community. We need to develop a Muskoka-wide working group that engages all levels of government, business interests, landlords, developers, and the community at large to develop the strategy that will put people in affordable and attainable housing. Proposals for the recently acquired riverfront property and the development of the downtown strategic plan will all open doors to the growth of an attractive and prosperous community, and we will need your ideas. For over 40 years, my career has required me to listen and work with others. Often, I need to be the catalyst that brought a team together, recognizing the talents of each person, listening to their advice, mindful of budgetary concerns, watchful of deadlines, thinking outside the box, and pushing boundaries. As a publisher, it was my job to make decisions and get things done. While councillors are elected to make decisions and lead the community, good leadership and decision-making requires good listening and public engagement. Listening to you must always be a priority. In closing, I'd like to remind you that you are electing 3 district councillors and that you have 3 votes. I'd be honored if one of those 3 votes was beside the name Don Smith. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve Clement.
Thank you. To highlight some of my beliefs and therefore my platform, I'd like to emphasize the following. Through my experience over the years, I've been involved with and supported many different issues. I believe the initiatives that we have put in place to be continued should be continued to service those in the ever-changing demographics now and into the future. I am anxious to see our community-based strategic plan roll out to assist us in planning for the near future. The development of our downtown master plan is both interesting and exciting. This will include the development and linkage of the Timber Mart and the Winchester Villa site. I'm a supporter of a very successful community incentive program, encouraging people to improve their signage and facades in our downtown core. I support the Santa's Village Road project need to be reworked to save the trees in the country road atmosphere while accomplishing the need for needed road maintenance and the desire of people to have a safe walking and biking areas along this busy but very scenic road system. Over the past few years, we've had more concerns over speeding on their streets and roads. We need to find a reasonable solution to prevent injuries and accidents. As a paramedic for 35 years, I'm fully aware of the need and supported the decisions for two fully service acute care hospitals. There's been much debate over the library and arena. Going forward, I support the theory of moving both much-needed projects forward. We as council have continued with the process so we are shovel-ready, so when we get some funding from the upper tiers of government, we can start. This is called being fiscally responsible. We need to continue the movement to make Bracebridge and Muskoka more accessible and inclusive, to break down barriers. This will help the local residents and act as an economic development initiative to attract those with disabilities by making them feel welcome to an inclusive community. I believe we should not praise people in public and condemn them in private. I have always said I will not make someone else look bad to make me look good. I believe that communications is very important. I believe there are 4 cornerstones that make communications work. Consistency, sincerity, courtesy, and friendliness. Leadership. Leadership is loyalty, energy, and positive attitude, enthusiasm, risk-taking, honesty, and inspiration. Leadership is the exploitation of opportunity to take people forward towards a common goal. I believe I have these qualities and can be a leader within our community, and I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Rick Maloney.
Thank you very much, Bruce, and thank you to the Chamber, Marnie and Brenda, Richard Borland for hosting us tonight, and of course all the other sponsors, including Hunters Bay Radio, the Moose 99.5, Metroland, and your TV Muskoka. We've heard many different ideas tonight, and I think that you've heard from candidates who are really passionate about our community. At the end of the day, what I'm offering to you is the same that I've offered to the town of Bracebridge for the last 8 years. That's someone who's committed and dedicated, who's responsive, and is attentive to any inquiry and any call that I ever do get. When we look at the priorities of the district, I really do think that there are some challenges when it comes to the communication that comes out of the district. The Santa's Village Road issue is a prime example. There's no reason why so many residents on Santa's Village Road had to go through that emotional roller coaster to find out that that project wasn't going to even get past a shovel in the ground. And for me, that is a shame that those people had to go through that. And I think that the district can do a far better job in being more connected to the municipalities it serves. And I think that one of the things that the district has done over the past number of years is being farther removed from what's happening at the grassroots level. So that's one point that I'd like to hammer home. I think that we have a housing crisis. I think there's absolutely major challenges when my 23-year-old daughter can't find a half-decent apartment in this community to come back to this community from Toronto as a paralegal without having to look at moving back with mom and dad. I love her, but she doesn't need to come back with mom and dad. So that's a challenge. And I think the other challenge that we have for our community when it comes to some social services, there's a real lack of daycare spaces for our young people. There's so many people that are struggling with having 2-3 jobs, and having that quality daycare is something that is really a challenge, where there's a huge demand and a very little supply. So that's something that also that I'd like to work on as a district councillor. Our environment, I said it before, our environment is our economy, and if we don't respect our environment when it comes to prudent planning decisions, like the idea that we're going to build a mega city on Cleveland's resort, that is just ridiculous. And so I will bring that kind of common sense approach to anything that I have that comes across the district table. I think that folks know me well enough that they know that I will do my hardest work to represent them to the best of my ability, and I look forward to your support on October 22nd. Thank you very much.
Rick Hallum.
Thank you, Bruce, and thanks to the Chamber for organizing this, to Brenda and to Richard, and to Marnie for doing the timekeeping. I just need to reiterate a couple of things, and that is that during the next term of council, governance is going to be a big issue. We need to concentrate on that. We need to continue the discussion on the hospitals to make sure that that comes through properly. We need to attract people to our to Muskoka so that we have people to build things, to sell things, to be PSWs for the people who need them. And we need affordable housing. And lastly, but not least, we need to do all this while maintaining a healthy environment. As my colleague Rick here said, we don't want to see a mega development on Cleveland's property. In fact, we probably don't want to see one on any property. I'd like to just conclude with thanks everybody for coming. I will work for you, and please remember to vote on October 22nd. And if you make me one of your selections for district council, I would be pleased to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this evening's debate. We will be having a second one here again at 7 o'clock on October the 4th for the ward candidates, and we look forward to a wonderful evening of discussion at that time. Right now, I wish to extend my sincerest thanks to these four gentlemen that have taken the time to run for office. We wish each of them luck. In conclusion, I want to again also thank our sponsors, Hunters Bay Radio, Metroland Media, Moose FM, and Your TV. I also want to give special thanks to Marnie Mowat, who has been doing our timing. I also want to acknowledge Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Brenda Rhodes, and lastly, thank Richard Borland, the President of the Chamber. We're very fortunate to have a great chamber within our community looking after our businesses. At this time, I want you to sincerely think that people have given their lives to be able to allow us the right to vote. So please make sure you get out and vote. And lastly, thank a vet for having done that. Have a great night, folks.